Hello everyone, in this video we're going to talk about the brand new AI features of Odoo 18.3 which were released today. Primarily we'll focus on what we call AI fields that are available throughout the system. Now there are a lot of new AI features coming to Odoo 19 that will be released in the fall, but on a subversion 18.3 you can find and utilize those features right away. The two main ones that are introduced in 18.3 are going to be the AI application that allows you to build out AI chats, and then AI fields, which can be leveraged across the system utilizing Studio, properties, as well as in server actions. And of course, you can use them in the back end of the system as well. So today's video is going to be primarily focused on those fields. But before we do that, I do want to touch on some of the other AI features, and I'll do another video later on with more details on those particular features. And that's going to lead us into this AI application that you see on our home screen here. So this brand new AI application is going to allow you to build your own agents within the system. So here you see a demo one for Odoo Compliance Assistant. If we go into our configurations here, it's very straightforward. We give it a name, maybe a description. We select our language model, so here ChatGPT or GPT 3.5, 4, or Gemini, and you'll be able to attach your API keys for either Google or OpenAI inside of the configurations and settings, which we'll look at in just a second. You can select your response style, so whether it's analytical, balanced, or creative, your system prompt, whether you want to restrict the resources, and those resources are going to be the ones that you attach and the URLs that you attach as well. And then under topics here is going to allow you to interact with parts of the system to trigger some action. Now right now there's just one topic that you can choose, or you can leave it blank. This one is to create calendar events based on some interaction you have with the bot. However, in the future there will be many more topics that you can utilize in order to generate or trigger things across the system. So down below you give some attachments. So here we have the Odoo Enterprise Agreements, and then some URLs that you may include so that the system can be trained on them. And then from there, you can just interact with that bot from across the system like you would using the Discuss application. So for example, if I go right here and I just click on it, it will pull up our Odoo Assistant, and then I can communicate back and forth with the bot and get the results that I'm looking for, so I get help across the system. Now, if I go to my settings here, you'll see I can insert my OpenAI key or my Google key in order to leverage any of those models. Now again, we won't be going through this in detail today, but I just wanted to mention the existence of this application because it's going to be quite powerful, especially within your ERP environment. But what we're going to focus on today is specifically AI fields and how we can utilize them across the system with a lot of different use cases that will really show the power of these tools. Now let's start with what was included, right? What did we develop? And that's going to be, again, the AI field. So now, right now, if I search fields, I'm going to go to our database structure just so you can see. I'm just going to click on a random field here. Let's just go to this field. So now you'll see in this field, or any field that you create, is going to have this AI tab, which dictates whether or not it's an AI field. And if it is an AI field, you can provide a prompt in order for that field to be generated. Now, this is in the back end. You won't really utilize this. I just wanted to show how it exists. Now, if I go into another application, let's say we go into our CRM. I'll go into a random opportunity here. And if I go into my properties and click on Edit Properties, we'll see there is now a field, a checkbox to denote whether or not this is an AI field. And if there's an AI field, it will allow me to enter a prompt. And I can create an AI field for any type of field. So it can be a multi-text, a checkbox, a many-to-one, a many-to-many. And then we can prompt the AI with some fields in order to try to fill in that information. Now, throughout today's demonstration, I'm going to try to give you tips on how to get the best results. And we're going to look at all the different places that we can utilize these fields. So one thing to mention is as you give it the prompt, you can also do a backslash here and you can input some fields. So these are going to be all the fields and related fields of this model so that you can provide that information to the prompt so it can execute better and have the relevant data in order to make some sort of determination that you want it to make. These fields are really going to be powerful for things like summarizing content, grading the sentiment of a specific chatter communication, or generating tags based on some information about the company, or automating some description that you want to fill in a product. And those are just a couple of the different use cases we're going to go through today. So we have our AI property fields. We also can leverage Odoo Studio in order to enter in a new AI field. So here on the left side of Studio, if I drag and drop a new AI field, we'll see that I can select any field type, very similar to the property. So for example, a text box, an integer, and then I can give it a prompt. Now some fields will automatically input depending on what they are, and they'll get generated as you use the system, and others will require you to click on a button that looks like this AI icon in order for that to get generated. So for example, if I do a text field, this will automatically populate and generate. If I do, for example, a many to one field, I will have to select the AI in order to generate that content, as opposed to the system just generating it in the back end. Now, the last place we're going to be able to utilize these is in automations, which I think is the most powerful spot. So now if I go to automations here and click on new, I will just leave all this blank for the sake of our example here. But if I wanted to update a record, I can click on update record. And let's say I wanted to update the description field. Now I can set a value, of course, but what if I wanted to generate that value with a prompt via the agent? So I go here and say update with AI. And now I have a fill in the blank field just like I had earlier, where I can write a prompt and then use a backslash to give it the data fields that I wanted to consider in the prompt, and then allow the system to generate that based on any type of automations I want to create. So for example, if we were to say when a task or a new lead gets generated, for example, maybe we want to fill in a description, or when a new help desk ticket comes in, we want to try to automatically assign it based on a prompt and the description inside of that particular help desk ticket. We'll be able to use these automations to automatically trigger that. So that's what we're going to look at today. So we've seen the 3 ways that we can utilize those fields. The next thing I want to do is go through several use cases so we can see how we can leverage it. And the first use case we'll go over today is going to be in our CRM, where we'll look at how we can generate some description of a company, a new lead that comes in. Maybe we want a quick preview of what the company does. And using our AI model, we can allow it to go out to the internet, find some data about the company, and enter in that information into maybe a property field or a studio field. So let's look at a simple example. We'll go into our CRM now. I can go into an existing opportunity, and I'm going to add a new property field. And again, this can be done through Studio, but let's just call it company summary. And we'll do a multi-line text. We'll say this is an AI field, and we'll give it a prompt. And we'll say, search the web for some basic information about this company. And in order to do that, we might provide some information. We can give it the company name. So we'll do a backslash, and then we'll say company name. So search the web for some basic information about this company. And what you want to try to do is give it the exact name that we're looking at. So about this company based on the company name or the email domain provided. So I'm also going to provide it with an email domain, and I'm going to insert. So now we'll have that field here that we can generate. I'm going to create a new opportunity here just for a realistic company. We're going to call this Odoo. We'll say Odoo Inc. here. And let's just give it an email address. I'll add a contact. We'll say this is Kevin Zaki, kez@odoo.com. So now we have the email. We'll enter in kez@odoo.com, and we'll add this. So now we've created a new opportunity. We can click into this, and I'm going to generate my AI summary. And it's going to take a second to load. And here we have a brief kind of description. Of course, we can prompt it to say the length. Maybe we just want a sentence or 2 sentences. But here you see Odoo Inc. is a software company that specializes in providing comprehensive suite of business management applications, etc. So that's one use case, right? We can pull in some data, get us some relevant information to maybe a new sales rep, just to save them some time to know what they're looking at. All right, so let's save that and we'll go back to our pipeline. Now in our next example, we want to leverage the tag. So maybe we want to automatically tag a company with their industry, and we want the bot to do that for us, or we want the AI agent to do that for us. So here we have tags. It's already an existing field, and we see software, services, information, design. We can add as many tags as we want. But when a new opportunity is created, we want this tag to automatically be added. Or maybe we have leads turned on, and then we segment out our leads based on the tags that exist on the opportunity or the lead, and then we assign it to different sales reps. Well, in that case, maybe we have a form that gets filled out on the website, and maybe sometimes people leave this blank, or maybe we don't have that as an option on the form, and we want to be able to pull in that information. Now, it's important to note that it's not always going to be 100% accurate. It's just the nature of AI. But for the sake of some of these different use cases, it doesn't necessarily have to be accurate, but it can save us a ton of time trying to tag these manually or going through them manually, and we can let the AI do a lot of the lifting for us. So what we'll do from here is I'm just going to move this to qualified because I'm going to create a server action based on new. And I'm going to go into our studio application. I'm going to create a new automation, and I'm going to click on new automation rule. I'm going to say set the industry tag based on AI. So now the model is lead. The trigger is going to be, let's say on stage is set to new. We'll do it for all. We won't specify domain. And then on our action here, we're going to say update the record. We're going to update with AI. The field we're going to update is tags. And now what I can do is say, find the industry of the company based on the company name and email address. Use one of the tags below in order to best describe the industry of the company. So we're going to give it a field. We're going to give it again the company name. We're also going to give it email. So do a field selector, email. And what we're also going to do is provide the record selector. What do we want it to select from? So here, for example, I'll do software, other training. We can give it everything. I'm just doing this for the sake of example. We'll save and close this, and we'll close this out. Now I'm going to move this to the new stage, and we're going to see that the tag automatically appears as software. Now again, it's not always going to be 100% accurate, but for common companies or companies that are widely available to search on the internet, it's going to be pretty accurate in terms of depicting exactly what we wanted to select from. So here we have software. It can also select many different tags. So if you want to specify, select 2 tags that best describe it, or select maybe you have 2 automations that one selects the software and then one selects the type of company or company size or something of that nature. All right, so let's go back to our dashboard and let's move on to some more use cases. So in our next use case, we're going to look at the Helpdesk application. And keep in mind, any of these use cases can be used throughout the system. This is just to give you an idea of what you can do. So we're going to go into customer care, and we'll just select one of these different opportunities, or rather these different tickets. And what we want to do now is maybe we create a new field that allows us to capture the sentiment of the messages that are happening inside of the chatter. And this is going to not only allow us to have some data to report on, but maybe we chain some automations where if the sentiment is negative, then it automatically gets flagged to a manager, creates an activity for them. Or maybe the manager just wants to be able to filter by unhappy customers so that they can take a deeper dive into them. It's something that you can also do in the CRM. Maybe you have a close reason and you want to see if the sentiment was negative at the end of the closing reason in case, or the loss reason, so that you can go back and see if maybe a sales rep did something wrong, or maybe the customer is unreasonable, what their kind of dispute is or concern is with the product and the reason why they didn't purchase. But again, focusing on help desk tickets now, let's take a look at what we can do. So again, I'm going to use a simple example here, but let's click on send message and we'll just pretend this is a message and just say this product is amazing. All right, so we have this product is amazing inside of the chat here. So if I use properties here, or we can go into Studio and do this, let's just do it in properties for our example here. And I'm going to say that this is an integer field maybe. And for this example, I'm going to call this sentiment, and we'll give it a default value. We'll make it an AI field, and the prompt we're going to say is use the messages ID for this record in order to determine the overall sentiment of the customer. We will rank, or let's say you should rank it 1 through 5, 5 being very happy and 1 being very dissatisfied, or let's just say unhappy. So from here, we're going to add the field selector. We need to give it the messages. So here we're going to do message IDs. These are the related messages on the right side of the screen. So we'll say message IDs, we'll insert, and we'll save this. Now we'll use the AI button here to generate. And as you see, based on the information in the chatter, we have a sentiment of 5, so 5 being the highest. Now, if I were to edit this message and say, this product is really bad, and I do this again, we see a 1. And if we say this product is okay, it's not bad, it's not great. Obviously, I'm just trying to showcase how this might be utilized. I'm doing it in a very kind of strict manner, but that wouldn't necessarily be the case. Let's see what it gives us on this run. So we get something in the middle, which was what we would expect based on this product is okay, it's not bad, it's not great, right? So you kind of get the point here. This doesn't necessarily have to be an integer field. It can be a selection box where you say good, bad, neutral. And then later on, if I wanted to filter by this, right? If I wanted to add this to a card, or I wanted to have this inside of my list view here, and you see the different sentiments that were generated for all of my different opportunities, I can be a manager and come in here and filter by this. If I said add a custom filter, we go to my properties, and I say, properties, I'm going to select my field here, is lower than 4, or let's just say 2. I'm not sure what we have here, but so there's none that are lower than 2. But again, you can filter by that, and as a manager, you'll be able to come in and look at that. Or if you wanted to chain an automation here and say, if the sentiment falls below a 5 or a 3, then I want to create an activity for a manager. We can do that right from our automations tab. Now, moving on from there, let's say, next use case, we have a help desk ticket come in. And the help desk ticket might be in some general bucket. And we want to make sure it goes to the right team as quickly as possible. Well, we can create an automation based on if we had some logic in here to say if the description contains something about networking, then make sure it goes to our networking team. If it says something about support, it goes to our support. If it says something about billing, it goes to our billing team. So maybe we have some more help desk teams, and I'll create a new help desk team called billing. So we have billing, customer care, and I will say network outage as an example. and maybe we have returns. So now a new help desk can come in. Maybe it comes into our customer care, just a general catch-all bucket of customer care, and then we route it based on that. But we can skip that step and use the automation to do that for us. So let's go in to customer care here. We'll go into Studio, and we'll say an automation. We'll create a new automation rule, and we'll say custom assign the help desk team with AI. So now what we'll do is when the stage is set to new, we'll add an action, and we'll say update the record, compute with AI. Here we're going to say the sales or the team, the help desk team, and we'll say based on the description from the customer, try to assign this to the most appropriate help desk team. And what we'll do here is the field selector. Again, what we'll do is put in the description. So that's going to be the description that was provided by the customer. And then the records that we want to choose from. Let's say that everything comes into customer care. So we want to look at network outages, returns, and billing. So I'll save and close that, and we'll save. So now I'll create a new task in here. We'll say, let's go to list view so I can create a new task, and I'll just say help with my return. I would like to return my product. Now, once I save this, okay, let's give it an email, or I like select the customer. Okay. There we go. Okay. So user error there. I had it assigned to Mitchell admin instead of my user that I have. So we see that the help desk team automatically updated to returns based on the AI agent. Even though we created it in customer care, it came in to our pipeline. Maybe it came in automatically via a form on our website or anywhere that, a ticket, an email in, a catch-all email that comes in and takes all of our different tasks. It automatically applied it to returns. And we can do the same thing here if I were to create a new one and say, what are some of our ones that we've created? A billing issue. I was billed twice. I was looking at my credit card statement and it looks like your company billed me, let's say charged. Let's see if it works if I say charged me twice. Now I'll save this. Again, Mitchell admin, let me switch this to Kez. We'll save, and we'll see that it switched to billing. So really powerful, just small automations that can really make your life easier. Okay, so in certain instances, tickets are escalated to a manager or someone with more skill, and there might be a lot of back and forth, a lot of data inside of that ticket that we want to get an executive summary of so that we can quickly look at it and understand what has been done maybe, or what the ticket's all about before we go into all of the detail. And that's a really powerful thing that AI does very well. So what we can do is if we go into one of these tickets, I'm going to use this, and I'm just going to use, for the sake of example here, I'm going to say generate a fake help desk ticket that someone using Odoo might submit. So just using that for some fake data so that we can go through this example. So we'll just kind of copy this. All right. So we have this. We have in the customer care team, we have some information. Maybe it needs to get escalated, and maybe we have something here inside of our stages for escalation, or maybe it goes to a particular help desk queue for escalation. But let's just say we are going to create a new stage here, and we'll say escalated, and add this, move this over. And I'm going to create an automation that when this is moved to escalated, we automatically generate a new summary of the ticket. So we have our kitchen collapsing. I'll just say this is SMTP server issue. And I'm going to go into Studio here. We can do this a couple of ways, right? We can use properties. Maybe we add a new field here, whatever the case might be. I'll do it with a new AI field, and we'll do a multi-text line. And I'm going to give it a prompt. I'm going to say, summarize the customer's issue in 2 sentences to produce an executive summary when transferring the ticket. And actually what I need to do here is adjust this, and I'm going to give this a field selector, and that field is going to be the description. We can have multiple fields too. We can add in the messages too if we want to get a little bit more details, but I'll just save and generate, and we'll call this executive summary. There we go. And you see that it already generated. So we have an executive summary here that already generated for us. We can have this only get generated based on an automation once we move it to the escalated stage. Really depends on what we're looking for, but you can see that it was pretty accurate in summarizing the issues that were listed down below. And we can do that across the system, not just in Helpdesk, but maybe we do that in tickets or project tasks to just understand what you need to do in terms of a project task. A lot of times, especially internally, we have a project task that has all of the R&D information. Maybe we want to have a 1-liner or 2-liner for our release notes. Well, it can take all of that information in the description and write in a quick 1-liner for the release notes. All right, so let's move on from there. Let's look at a few more use cases. Let's go back to our dashboard. The next couple of use cases we're going to do in inventory. So we'll go to our products. And let's just go into a random product here. Let's go into this cozy sweater. Now, oftentimes we might have some internal notes. If we're doing e-commerce, we'll definitely have some more product description. We see our quotation description here. And a lot of these take time to fill in. So what we might want to do is we might have, a long description, but we want to make sure we have all of these other descriptions filled in. And you can easily update all of these with the bot, right? We don't need to enter in an e-commerce description, a quotation description. If we go to point of sale, we don't need to enter in another item description. There might be some other things that we want to add, like the category. All of these things can be leveraged based on some information we have in here. We might want to add the product category based on the name of the product, or maybe we want to add a tag. So maybe we want to add a fragile tag if this product is deemed to be fragile. Or, right, if we go to inventory, we go to our description for delivery. Maybe we want to add a description for a delivery saying this is a fragile item. If there's some indication of it being fragile, like for example, if the product name was something glass or anything of that nature. So let's go ahead and create a simple automation here. And we'll do one inside of our description for delivery. And this field name is called description picking out. And we'll do an automation that says, when we create or edit the product, when updating the name field, we want to add an action to say, identify, let's do update a record, and we'll do update with AI. The field is going to be this description, and we're going to say from the product name and description, identify if the product is fragile. If it is, write fragile in the delivery description. And we'll give it the field selector and we'll say the name of the product. Delivery description with AI. All right, so I'm going to close this out, and I'm just, for the sake of this example, I'm going to name it a glass container. Now, if I go over to my inventory, you can see that it entered in the description for delivery orders. Really simple example. You might use that in order to add some tags here instead. You might use it to fill in some e-commerce details, etc. One really powerful use case again is to just summarize a long description so we can add these tags or categorize the product so we don't have to do it every time, or maybe it's right 80 or 90% of the time and then we just have to adjust it after that. All right, so lots of things you can do with products. I won't go through all of those examples. Let's move on to a couple of other ones before we wrap up the video. So in this example, let's go into some of the marketing applications, right? We can leverage AI to generate some content for us. So for example, if we were in email marketing, and I'm just going to go into a demo kind of email here that we have. Let's look at this one. And let's go into settings here. We have this preview text that will be populated when the email goes out. And we want to make sure that it's something catchy. It's not a required field, but we want to make sure that's filled in all the time. So what we can do is use automations to take the mail body and create a catchy email preview text. So we'll go into our studio, we'll go into automations once again, and here we'll just say when we create or edit and when we're updating the body. I believe that should be the field. Actually, let's just leave it blank for the sake of example, and we'll say update preview text with AI. Add an action. Again, what we'll do here is update record. We'll do it update with AI. We're going to update the preview, and here we're going to say generate a catchy email preview, text from the contents of the email. And here we're going to select the field. We're going to select body, insert, save and close. We'll close this out. And here I'm just going to update the name just so that we can trigger this field here. So we'll save this and we'll see what it comes up with. So discover the inspiring journey of Odoo and how it's transformed the ERP landscape. And based on this email, this is pretty accurate, right? So of course we might not like that particular preview text, but it is accurate based on the data that it was provided. So again, lots of opportunity to automate small use cases without too much thinking involved. You can do that throughout the system using properties, using Odoo Studio, doing it in the back end. And then you can use and leverage server actions to auto-populate things. Then remember, the real value add here is that once you get that data, like a sentiment of a help desk ticket, you can then leverage things like server actions to say, create an activity for a manager to review. Or maybe we want to, when a lead comes in or a project task gets assigned, we want to trigger the AI to be able to try to assign those things to the right team, the right project. There's a lot of things that we can do. We're just scratching the surface with some of these examples, and there will be even more powerful examples to come as the AI gets better, as we improve the product features and add additional settings specifically for the AI chat that I will do a different video on. So please let me know if you have any questions. Super excited for these new AI features coming to Odoo.